Your brain predicts almost everything you do, and it does so by looking into your past whenever you experience something and asks, the last time I faced a similar situation, what did I see, feel, and do next? Then it gets you to repeat those things. Through a negative lens, this is what keeps you doomed to repeat your bad habits. For example, if you've always felt anxious speaking to strangers, your brain will predict strangers as threatening, meaning your anxiety will spark whenever you leave the house. Or, if you've always binge ate whenever you feel lonely, your brain will predict that as the most cost-effective response to loneliness. So, if you can, first of all, understand why and how your brain makes such predictions, and then 2, update your brain's current predictions, you will drastically improve your mental health and radically change your behaviour. So, if the next few minutes of your time isn't too much of me to ask, I'd like to explain how to do this. Almost forgot that bit then. This lesson about the brain is from my favourite neuroscientist Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett's book, 7.5 Lessons About the Brain. And to illustrate why your brain makes these predictions, she begins the chapter with a brief example. Imagine a soldier slyly tiptoeing through a forest with his comrade behind him. He's been given intel that a rival army leader is lurking somewhere in the forest, and he has been given the mission to kill this rival leader. So he's walking through the forest, gun cocked, trying to make no sound, but then he hears some movement to his right, and what he sees is the rival army leader holding an AK-47 with 10 men marching behind him. So the soldier cocks his gun in sight of the army leader, takes a deep inhale and goes to pull the trigger, but then his comrade behind him taps him on the shoulder and whispers, "Hey, don't shoot, it's just a kid." Confused, the soldier lowers his weapon and is shocked at what he sees. He doesn't see a rival army leader with a gang of 10 soldiers behind him, but he sees a young boy holding a stick with 10 cows behind him. Perhaps you've experienced something similar before. You've looked into a group of strangers and seen your friend, but as you begin to wave, your vision comes to and you realise, oh, it's just a complete stranger. Or you felt your phone vibrate in your pocket, pull it out to see no notifications at all. In moments like these, you might think your brain is malfunctioning, but it's not. Your brain is working exactly as it should. Going back to the soldier example, his brain asked, based on what I know about this war, and given that I'm deep in the woods with my comrade, heart pounding, and there are figures ahead with a pointy object, what am I likely to see next? And the answer was the opposing army with its leader ahead of them. So the stuff inside the soldier's head and what was outside in his environment didn't match. It was only the inside stuff that prevailed. So this highlights how your view of the world isn't like a photo. It's not a snapshot of reality. It's a fluid, ever-moving construction your brain crafts in each moment that appears real. And your brain does this because it has a very complex job. Think about it. Your brain sits as the command centre for the rest of your body in a very dark room called your skull, and it's constantly being bombarded with signals, visuals and chemicals from your external world, which is all very complicated stuff. So in order to simplify all of that, what neuroscientists call sensory data, your brain has to rely on memory in order to make meaning from all of this incoming information. As Lisa Feldman Barrett says, keep forgetting where I've got my thing, your brain asks itself in every moment, the last time I was in a similar state and preparing a particular action, what did I see next? What did I feel next? The answer need not be a perfect match for your situation, just something close enough to give your brain an appropriate plan of action that helps you survive. Keywords here, appropriate plan of action. So your reality that you see before your eyes is a combination of your external world and how your brain chooses to interpret it. And your experience in each moment of your life is a direct result of your brain answering this question. In other words, your life is a carefully controlled hallucination. And remember why this matters. It's because if you can control this carefully controlled hallucination, i.e. update your brain's predictions, you will drastically improve your mental health, finally break free from your bad habits and habitual emotional responses to things, and you will radically change your behaviour. Let's go deeper. Before we talk about anything else, and to give you a real feeling for how this brain mechanism works, I want you to take the next 30 seconds to have a look at these 3 images I've drawn on the board and to think about what you see in each one. Let's get interactive with this, so before I reveal the answers in 30 seconds time, comment what you see in each image below and we'll all check our answers. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, okay, I'm going to leave the room. Have a think. I was having a nice lay down then. What were your answers? As you pondered, screw-faced, looking at the whiteboard, billions of neurons were firing in your brain to try and make sense of some lines on a whiteboard. So let me reveal the answers to you. This first image is a submarine going over a waterfall. This second image is a spider doing a handstand. And finally, this third image is a ski jumper stood at the top of the slope looking at spectators down below. Of course, your reactions are to me revealing these answers. So your brain is now changing the firing of its neurons to accommodate for this new information. No, that feeling you just felt, that of course moment after I revealed what these images are, that was your brain's predictions being updated. These images didn't change. You changed. In art, this is known as the beholder's share. In any artwork you see, technically the artist does 50% of the work. It's then up to the spectator to do the remaining 50% of the work by bringing their predictions from their memory to the artwork in order to interpret it. In other words, you only see humans in Picasso's Cubist paintings because you have the memory of what a human is. But if you want the 3-step procedural neuroscience of what your brain does when it predicts, here it is. By the way, my guess, I'm going to be fascinated to see your guesses in the comments. I think mine were, God knows, but I'll let you know. A bunch of neurons make their best guess about what will happen in the future based on the past or the present. Then, those neurons announce that guess to other neurons in other brain regions, which changes their firing, how they operate. Then, your brain also gathers sensory data from your body or the world, which either confirms the prediction or not. Remember, sensory data is all of the information your brain is receiving from your body and the external world, be it chemicals, cues, signals, or visuals. So in other words, predictions are nothing more than your brain having a conversation with itself. And then the validity of that conversation is either confirmed or denied by your body or the external world. But you don't need me to tell you that sometimes your predictions aren't very accurate. Let's now look to Buddhism to explore this issue further. This is otherwise known as the double arrow problem. The first arrow you're hit with is experience, and then the second arrow you're hit with is your interpretation of that experience. And largely our problems stem from our interpretations. Yes, these are bows and arrows going towards someone. For example, you wake up late. That's your experience. Then in response to that, your brain predicts you're now going to feel a low mood because in the past, that's what you've always felt whenever you've woken up late. So that's your brain's prediction. But then remember, your body and brain, body-brain, are always talking to each other. So in response to this prediction being made, your body now releases chemicals to make you feel in a low mood. Meaning, your body now confirms your brain's prediction. Remember, the predictions can be confirmed either by the external world or your body. And then, because you now feel a low mood, you now have less energy, meaning you now interpret the experience to mean, oh, I feel low mood because I woke up late. Here's another example. You're invited to go to a party. That's your experience. But now your brain predicts you're going to feel anxious at this party because whenever you've been to parties in the past, you've always felt anxious and not known what to do with yourself socially. So, now because you're rehearsing the feeling of anxiety in response to the mental imagery going on, your heart rate increases, your body releases adrenaline, which leads to you feeling more anxious when you're rehearsing this image in your mind, meaning your body now confirms your brain's prediction, leading to you concluding that parties make you feel anxious and are a huge dangerous threat. That's your interpretation. So to mention it one more time, as you can see in these examples, the problem doesn't stem from the experience, it stems from your brain's predictions being confirmed by your body and then you finalising it off with an interpretation. So if you can bypass this system around stage here by updating your brain's predictions, that's how you're going to flourish and change your reactions to things. Here's the bottom line. If you're wondering why your brain makes such faulty predictions, it's because your brain isn't wired for accuracy. It's wired for survival, to keep you alive. Also, by making predictions, your brain saves an incredible amount of time and energy, regardless of whether those predictions are right or wrong. And obviously, what prediction is confirmed is the action you'll take, what you'll feel, or what you think in response to something external or what your body's doing. But the one more thing I want you to know is when your brain makes a prediction in response to something happening externally in your environment, its neurons are already firing in a way that matches that external stimuli, which means that when the prediction is confirmed, that external stimuli now no longer has any use. Which means when the prediction is confirmed, your brain is now literally crafting a hallucination in your mind. But what we haven't spoken about yet, and this is where it gets juicy because this is where we're going to update these predictions, we haven't spoken about what happens when a prediction isn't confirmed and it's wrong. In keeping with the examples of waking up late and feeling low mood and then being invited to go to a party and rehearsing anxiety, what if you woke up late but continued your day as normal, or even did something to boost your mood, such as exercise or have a cold shower? And what if instead of rehearsing anxiety and everything that could go wrong at this party, you rehearsed the image of the smiling faces that could greet you, or the awesome conversations you could have? In response to you now updating your sensory experiences with your imagination and obviously sparking your body to feel different chemicals, your brain now has two options when internalising this new information. One, it either updates the predictions that it had before for these new ones, otherwise known as learning. I've got an N. The analogy for this is your brain's map that it had of the world before has now been updated with new territory and new routes that you could take to reach that territory. Or your brain just sticks with however it predicted reality before. In the words of Lisa Feldman Barrett, top G for this video, when your predicting brain is right, it creates your reality. When it's wrong, it still creates your reality, and hopefully it learns from its mistakes. So now we've covered that briefly, let's now go deeper in terms of how we can bring all of this information together in order for you to practically apply it to your life and get all of the benefits that I promised, such as drastically improving your mental health, radically changing your behaviour and whatnot. Preface, understanding is 90% of solving the problem, but let's still go practically into it. In order to practically apply this to your life, all you need to understand is the sequence in which predictions are formed. You see, common knowledge leads us to believe that we sense things and then we act. But in reality, it's the complete opposite. We act and then we sense things. Take a moment to consider the implications of this. If predictions are formed in this sequence, that we act first and then sense second, that means all of your predictions are being formed based on how you act now. Furthermore, if predictions happen in this sequence, that also means most of your reactions to things are unconscious and you only become aware of them in retrospect. So here's the $1 million sentence. You cannot change your behaviour now to alter the past, but you can change your behaviour now to alter the future. To illustrate this, think about the last time you did something that you regret. You said something you regretted, or you binge ate loads of food, or you scrolled your evening away into oblivion. Your brain wouldn't have been able to do those things if it didn't have the knowledge of how to do those things in the first place. I know this sounds obvious, but just think about it. If you'd never learned those words, if you'd never binge ate that food before, or if you'd never used a mobile phone before, your brain wouldn't have got you to do those actions. So everything you learn today seeds your brain to predict differently tomorrow. So to improve your life, there's 2 things you need to do. First of all, you need to become aware of your current predictions that are getting in the way of your growth and that you'd like to change, and then you need to update them by choosing new actions or by focusing on different sensory experiences. For example, let's imagine you have a public speaking opportunity coming up, but your brain has always predicted public speaking to be anxiety-provoking and threatening because of one bad experience you had on stage in school when you were 10. So, instead of interpreting the anxiety to be debilitating and unhelpful, reinterpret it as energized determination that is going to help you focus when you're giving the speech and perform in the best way you can. Second of all, if your natural response to someone disagreeing with you is to get angry and dig your heels in because your brain's formed that prediction over God knows how many years, the next time someone disagrees with you, actively train yourself to enact empathy to try and understand their point of view as best as you possibly can, thus updating your brain's predictions for next time. Final example. The next time you feel the urge to escape the feeling of boredom by scrolling on your phone, if you train yourself to surf the urge and then redirect your energy towards doing something other than scrolling, then you update your brain's prediction for the next time you feel bored to know, oh, we don't have to scroll, there's other things we can do. So this is the main point of the whole video. What you choose to put effort towards today becomes automatic tomorrow. Your brain rewires itself to what it experiences now and then updates its predictions for the future. Note, as we almost bring this video to a close, I'm not saying any of this is easy. Remember, your brain makes predictions to save you time and energy, so by changing your brain's already formed predictions, it's going to cause a lot of friction. But with this understanding of what we've covered in this video that you're now equipped with, you can catch yourself the next time you respond to something in a way that you don't like or that is hindering your life, and reason, I might not be able to change my behaviour in the heat of the moment, but I can change my brain's predictions before the heat of the moment. Now is an opportunity for me to do so. You might be thinking, Lewis, this is a lot of responsibility to bear, being the owner of a predicting brain. Absolutely, it is. In fact, it's too much responsibility to bear at times. But by saying you are responsible for your brain's predictions doesn't mean that certain things aren't your fault. It's not to say that you are to blame for your anxiety, your depression, or your trauma, or any other thing that you're struggling with, for that matter. By saying you are responsible for your brain's predictions is simply to say, sometimes we're responsible for things not because they're our fault, but because we're the only ones who can change them. So in the words of Lisa, and as an owner of a predicting brain, you have a lot more choice than you think. And you also have a lot more responsibility than you'd like. But consider the possibilities of this, of changing your brain's predictions. What might your life look like? Who might you become? That's enough of the mystical voice. Feel absolutely free to end the video here because it's been a bit of a long one, but if you want to go one step deeper, I have a concept that I wrote about a few weeks ago on a newsletter that is related to this, and I'd just like to cover it now. As I try to wipe the whiteboard while holding the laptop, why didn't I just put my laptop down? It begins with a story. About 2 years ago, I woke up early in the morning. It was about 7 o'clock and I was walking to my local calisthenics park in order to do a workout. It was cold outside, it was a crisp, fresh morning, but I wasn't feeling very social. So when I walked up the pavement, turned around the corner to see the park and the pull-up bars, and also see 2 men there doing a workout, I thought, oh, brilliant. Now I have to be social as well. So I walked into the park, briefly greeted the 2 men, but then I realised I recognised one of the men. His name is Ollie. He's a 28-year-old personal trainer who goes to the park quite frequently, who's also a fascinating man. He is very intense when he looks at you. When he's having a conversation with you, he gives you the feeling that he's fully present there with you, but he does so by gazing into your eyes. And he's always dressed as if he's about to go on a dinner date rather than exercise with his clients. And he's always getting his clients to do the freakiest stretches and exercise. So I briefly say hello to Ollie and his client, but then I put my earphones in and continue doing my workout. But little did I know the next 30 minutes would change my life. Forever. 30 minutes into my workout, Ollie's client, who's a 40-year-old-ish man, turns to Ollie after their workout was finished and says, you know, Ollie, working out is great and everything, but I'm really struggling with consistency, especially with self-development as well. And in a very empathic and understanding way, now with my both ears attuned to the conversation because it's piqued my interest, I take my earphones out and Ollie turns to his client and says, I get it, man. Sometimes self-development can be quite hard and it's a struggle to be consistent all of the time. But here's something that might help you. Think about it in terms of being a rugby player playing for a team. If you're a rugby player, regardless of whether you play for the team for 1, 2 or 10 years, your primary goal would be to leave the shirt that you wear in a better condition than how you found it when you leave the club. So it is with yourself, Ollie continued. Me, fully tuned into the conversation, he can see that I'm listening at this point. Ollie continued with, so it is with yourself. Your goal every day is to represent yourself to the best of your ability so that tomorrow you can wake up into the day with strength and having already won. So Ollie's client stood there hooked on Ollie's every word like a young lad, completely attuned to what his father is telling him, cocks his head back as if to digest what Ollie is saying with a, to which Ollie finalises his point with, you don't need to achieve great heights. You just need to continually represent yourself to the best of your ability. Now I've got my phone out and I'm listening with both ears, but I'm jotting down everything so this wisdom doesn't escape me after this moment. And I'm reminded of Ollie's words he said a few seconds ago. Continually represent yourself to the best of your ability so you can wake up into tomorrow with strength. So I put my phone back in my pocket, But Ollie and his client go to walk away as they finalise their conversation and their session, to which I politely tell them that I'd been listening to the whole thing, making notes, to which Ollie was very pleased that his words had significance. So I put my phone away, waved goodbye to the lads, continued my workout, and embraced the day with a newfound purpose. Now, this concept of representing yourself to the best of your ability is very similar to a concept that has briefly been outlined by online psychiatrist Dr. K. Because what Dr. K highlights is, as humans, as you know, we have a tendency to screw our future selves over. For example, eating junk food now is going to result in you feeling low energy and groggy later on. Staying up late into the early hours of the morning to scroll and talk to Bay on the phone is going to result in you feeling tired tomorrow morning. And not doing a workout now is going to result in you not being able to sleep later on. This concept is something that Dr. K called spawn points. It's taken from video games. You know that stage before you play a game when you're choosing your character, its perks and its storyline? It's the exact same with yourself, because the world you wake up into tomorrow is a direct consequence of the decisions you're making right now. Kind of scary, right? Considering this could be your spawn point. But at the same time, it's kind of exciting, considering this could be your spawn point. So this is your primary job for the rest of your life. Make tomorrow's spawn point slightly better than yesterday's. And to do so, you only need to ask yourself one question. What world do I want to spawn into tomorrow? Do you want to spawn into a world where you feel tired, groggy, weak, annoyed? Or do you want to spawn into a world where you feel clear, calm, rested and strong? So all you need to do now is ask yourself this question and then do your future self the favour by casting the votes in favour of you waking up into your desired world. The tricky thing is, it's your future self who gets all of the rewards. It's your present self who is constantly teeing up the assist, like Mesut Ozil, for your future self. But one more thing. Dr. K implores us to stop avoiding the struggle. This idea of avoiding the struggle is overcome with the understanding that, yes, today might suck. Big hairy balls. Doing a workout now is harder than scrolling your evening away into oblivion. Cooking a nutritious meal is much harder than eating 6 digestive biscuits, preferably dark chocolate ones, in one go. Don't know if that's possible. Going to bed at 9 PM and turning all of your screens off is much harder than spending your evening watching YouTube until your eyeballs physically shut. But your effort does not go unnoticed, because it's future you who is going to reap all of your rewards. So your goal for the rest of your life is to continue to represent yourself to the best of your ability each day in a way that serves tomorrow, and understand this is your goal forever. And upon the point of this being hard, and as Albert Camus highlighted in his book The Myth of Sisyphus, which is a mythological tale of a Greek man who was cursed by Zeus to forever push a huge boulder up a mountain only to watch it fall down again and to repeat the process to infinity, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. Spawn wisely. This was a long video. I appreciate your time and attention, especially if you stayed beyond the point of me saying feel free to end the video here. If you did make it past that point, then I'd like you to comment below an emoji of an otter, a dragon, and then the third emoji is your favourite emoji. But remember, the only things I want you to remember from this video is you might not be able to change your behaviour in the heat of the moment, but you can change your behaviour before the heat of the moment. Now is an opportunity for you to do so. Stay disciplined, playful, and dangerous. Adios, muchachos y muchachas.